Pigweed here. Today we review an IPA and discuss how George Floyd plus COVID broke America. Hello and welcome to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crow Hill. Good evening, Crow Hill.
Good evening, Pigweed.
What's on your mind?
Well, I'm wondering what this weird word is on the
What's
board
that?
behind me.
Oh, the sign.
By the way, viewers,
It's the show
there's
sign.
often a show sign back here with a special word. What in the heck is flow? But it sounds like something you'd take if you have a hard time peeing.
No. That's Flomax. But actually, this could be a competitor.
Okay, yeah.
No. This is what you get when you combine George Floyd with COVID.
Ah, George Floyd. Okay.
George
Floyd and COVID.
You know that thing that everybody's talking about? How George
no,
Floyd...
I don't.
No, but you're going to learn here, kids.
All right.
George
Floyd plus COVID.
Is all of the turmoil that you're experiencing...
Did George Floyd have COVID?
Well, I'm sure if he did, his death would have been listed as a COVID death.
That's true, yeah. Okay, all right, George Floyd plus COVID. But first, I'm curious about this. Royal Crush Juicy IPA by Flying Dog.
Okay, so it's a Maryland beer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And down on the Maryland shore, a very common drink is the Orange Crush.
Right.
It's very delicious, and
Yes.
I think that's what the inspiration is here.
They say they're inspired by Maryland Shore's most beloved beach cocktail.
Okay.
So here we've got, it's got blood orange and natural flavors, and it's all Citra hops.
Because they do make a blood orange IPA, right?
Okay, yeah, I think they do. So this is just extra orange.
This is extra orange, and it's a single hop.
So what I'm expecting is a lot of citrus aroma, a lot of citrus flavor, and some strong orange coming through.
Yes, so it's not just you can get fruity flavors strictly from hops.
Right, but
over here in the very subtle white type,
yes.
It says that they're actually with natural flavors.
Right.
So they've actually stuck some flavors in here. Go
Stuck some
ahead.
stuff in there. Let's see what's going on.
What do you think? How does
Definitely
it smell?
citrusy smell.
But does it smell? It seems to me I got almost
Definite
a slightly...
orange. Definite orange going on there. Yeah. Interesting. But it's not too sweet. Like an Orange Crush is a pretty sweet drink. And this one is...
That's not bad because the Heavy Seas that I love their beers.
Mm-hmm.
They did a Tropicana.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it just tasted like so much artificial flavoring.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like you're drinking an IPA while chewing juicy fruit.
Yeah.
You know what that just...
I remember that
kind
12-pack you got, and there were a bunch of them in there that were just kind of funny.
That whole... Almost all of them were bad.
Yeah, there's just too much phoniness going on.
Yes. So are you getting any of that? I didn't notice that being a real problem.
I'm not getting that fake flavor out of this at all. It tastes like they're using actual orange juice and
right. So,
and
but
maybe some orange peel. Or
non-hop flavors. But
definitely. So if you like an Orange Crush, give this a try.
6%, kind of hazy.
Yeah, definitely hazy. It almost looks like a glass of orange juice. But, yeah. All right. Well done, Flying Dog. Good job.
Okay, so there were two events that I feel like you can date America before and after.
Okay.
And the two things overlapped one another.
All right.
Right? So we had the COVID shutdown, COVID mandate, the whole COVID experience.
Paranoia, craziness.
At the same time, we lost our ever-loving minds because George Floyd died.
Yes. Well, we all lost our ever-loving minds twice.
So we lost twice.
Yes.
So the idea that, like I said, you've had these sort of before and after events, that things would be different afterward. There are things that make sense. So let's just say there's a lot more remote working than we ever had before.
Yes, very true.
So you go, okay, that's directly related to
COVID,
the COVID shutdown. There's there was concern about retraining police and police techniques.
Yeah. We still see weird stuff on Super Bowl end zones and helmets. That all happened because of Floyd.
Right.
Right.
So you're like, okay, the Floyd thing happened. It was somehow extended to all cops everywhere instead
Right.
of just saying, to me, it was always a local story.
Yeah.
It was like either I guess a cop did something wrong. At the time, I'm supposing a cop in Minneapolis did something wrong. I guess he'll be punished, or he won't be punished.
Yeah.
If he performed some technique that the department does regularly, they may want to revisit that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out how it
Well, here's the reason it became a national story, because they've done polls where they ask conservatives and liberals, how many unarmed black men do you think are killed by cops every year? Okay.
Yeah.
And the liberals will say, I don't know, 1,000.
Yeah. Yes, they even had like 10,000 as an option for people to vote in,
Yeah.
and there was still a
And
portion.
still a portion that vote that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the actual number is like 8.
Yes.
So,
And then by unarmed, they could still be in a car trying to run a cop over.
Yes.
They could still be trying to steal the cop's gun.
Yes.
And they're still unarmed.
they're still unarmed. Yeah. So there's been this, because the media has played up the whole narrative. I don't hate using that word. Of the cops running down and killing unarmed black men. That this was like just the boiling point. It was like, gosh, there's thousands. This is happening thousands of times every year. We've got to stop it. And so there was a kind of a bubbling over craziness. About
Yes,
it.
but at least those things are direct.
Yes.
You can say, okay, black man, white cop. Now there's anti-police stuff and thinking crime. Okay, I mean, whether or not I agree with it, it's directly
There's some
related.
connection there. That's right.
But then there's some combination.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it seems as if the world has come completely unglued in the last 3 years.
Yes, it's like somehow George Floyd's death and the COVID pandemic
The two things together
has resulted in trans madness.
Is this why like you're not supposed to take this medicine with this other medicine? It's like,
the side effects.
When you mix them, they're fine by themselves, but when you mix them together,
There's uncertain
side effects. You never know what's going to happen.
And one of them is now you have to say that men have periods.
Right.
Women can play in men's sports.
It's okay.
But this did not exist before the confluence of the Flovid.
Yeah. It's always been understood that only a certain number of books are allowed in libraries that children have access to. That's always been understood. But now all of a sudden it's somehow book banning to say that you're not going to have pornographic material in the library.
Yes, you're in Nazi Germany burning books.
Yeah.
If there's only 1,000 books in your whole thing.
Whole library.
Your whole library.
They have to be careful which ones they select, and you're dealing with children.
How hard is this to figure out?
It's always been, everybody's understood that. Until now, everybody's gone crazy and they don't understand that anymore.
And those books, either those books or different books, need to be read by men in garish outfits, caricatures of women, because that's the best way to read Green Eggs and Ham. To children in a school library is fat men in a dress with too much makeup.
Yeah, the real question, I saw somebody say something, the question you should really be asking about the Drag Queen Story Hour is, what is it about drag queens that compels them to want to read to children?
Yeah,
they're like, why can't they go do their thing? What makes them want to read to children?
And why do they get to turn it around and say, well, what's wrong? What's your problem with it? Like, you have to justify this.
Yes, if this is your idea. That's right.
All right, so then it went down to things like, so George Floyd dies in the hands of police custody, and now the Dixie Chicks have to change their name, and I can't watch the Dukes of Hazzard anymore.
Right. Yeah, because it's got a Confederate flag on the
yes.
On the, what's the name of the car?
Yeah, on the Rebel something.
What's the car? Oh, no, it'll come to me later on. I watch that show all the time, of course, because Barbara Bach.
But now you can't. Yeah, right. That's and kids out there who don't know where the term Daisy Dukes comes from.
Right.
Those little lovely little shorts.
Lovely little shorts.
Are named after what's her name?
Was it Barbara Bachman? Is that right? I can't remember.
I couldn't tell
I'm not
you.
sure. Anyway,
Yeah.
whoever she was something.
Yeah. So what other things came completely necessary as a result of the Flovid?
Well, we had to change the voting rules. Voting rules changed everywhere.
Yeah,
and not only did you have to change the voting rules because of COVID, but if you opposed them, you were a racist. So there was this combination of like
yes,
of
safety,
we have to make these changes, and if you're against it, you're a racist.
Right, of safety of not having a lot of people in a building.
Yeah,
and opposing them is not because you're. First off, you're trying to kill people, but you're also racist. But this wasn't just for the Flovid period. This is forever. So now voting rules that we've had since the beginning of time, of the beginning of the nation. Now, if you go back to those, you're a racist or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, anything in the past is, of course, more racist than it is now, which is totally false. You know, things were actually doing better with race. Until about anyway, no Indian princess on Land O'Lakes. Football teams had to change their names. It's like all this stuff was going on at the same time.
Yes, as a result of COVID plus Floyd.
And you have to put your pronouns on your business card and in your LinkedIn profile and in your settings on Zoom. So, like, it's not enough for somebody to see your face.
Right.
They need to know what your pronouns are. Not that anybody cares.
Right.
It's really just a virtue signaling thing.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yes, I had one today. The person's name, the woman's name, was Glsey, and I was like, finally, a business card that makes sense, because I don't know if that's a man or a woman, right? Gelsey.
Yeah, right.
But of course, the next business card was David. I'm like, Dave, really? You have to?
We know you're a man.
Do I have to? And he's like, yes, I have to. I don't want to.
Oh, I have to. It's required.
That's what I'm thinking, right? It's like
so
HR
waiting.
just decided. All right, we're all getting new business cards, and don't forget to fill out the he/him part.
I'm so waiting for somebody to ask me, to please put in my.
All right, before we start this Zoom meeting, let's have everybody go around the room and give us your pronouns.
Right.
Oh, shut up.
I'm totally ready for it. My response is, I'd rather die. Because I think it's the most ridiculous
mine would
thing.
be, I've had millions of encounters in my life, and I've never been misgendered once. And unless I'm in the room with the dumbest people I've ever been with, I'm thinking,
unless you guys
I probably
are
don't need to.
Stupid.
We can just move on without me doing
right.
it. And now you've already taken up an extra 5 minutes of this time.
This useless
meeting that I don't even want to be in.
Nobody
anyway.
wanted to come to this meeting anyway. Now you made it even worse.
Right, and so did you say the pushback on the Indian names? Like, there are schools now that are flipping back because once you had the trans madness, but one of them was it was the warriors, but the symbol was a Roman legionnaire.
Oh,
those were the warriors, but because it might remind somebody somewhere of a Indian warrior,
right?
Noble, brave, scary, awesome Indian warrior.
You don't name your team after something that you despise.
Or that you're totally unimpressed by.
Right, exactly.
Or
you name them that because
by.
You name them whatever you name them because you think that's cool.
Right, and so now we're getting to the point where like with the Land O'Lakes. So the best way to deal with concerns about Native American racism is to erase them from popular culture.
Right, because that's going to help.
Yeah. Just like I don't have it written down here, but let's get Uncle Ben off of the rice. Let's get Aunt Jemima off of that because again, the way to deal with racial matters is to erase them from popular culture.
So other things that have happened just as a result, since the George Floyd COVID thing, is we now have transgender flags painted on the streets, like in intersections.
And that you can't drive on them aggressively.
Because then you get.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Like somebody in a truck tries to spin their wheels, and then that person is guilty of a crime.
Well, first, yes, I don't know whether it's possible that they didn't even intend to, because now you've made the road slick. It's unlike how asphalt is supposed to be.
It's not a crime for you to use public funds to impose your agenda on all the other citizens.
Yeah.
But it is a crime to not like that.
And I thought that walking on a flag was disrespectful just to begin with.
Yes.
But you can drive on them in respectfully driving.
Right. Pulling down monuments, that was a big thing.
Oh, yeah, I forget. Yeah, yes. Now, right. Now, Christopher Columbus has to go and, who else? Stephen, what's the
well, they've been
musician?
pulling down Jefferson and other statues of founding fathers. It's like, come on.
Lincoln.
I know.
God's sake.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous.
And we are getting George Floyd monuments.
Yes.
So that's
because he's such a hero.
That's always nice. Also, you have to forgive student loans.
Right. Yeah. What does that have to? It's almost as if. Okay. So I heard this interesting thing in this marriage class about why is it that when all of a sudden you do something wrong. And then things that happen, this never happens with me, I'm very glad to say, but this apparently happens often in marriages where somebody does something wrong. And then all of a sudden things from a week ago come popping up.
Not a week ago, 11 years ago. And you're, well, since you brought that up, remember that time when the kids were little and you... Like,
it's almost like
a little bit.
There's a grievance bag. You've got this grievance bag, and all these things go in the grievance bag, and then you just kind of dump the whole grievance bag.
That is what's going on.
That
is what's going on here. Like, everybody who's ever had a grievance thought, this is our moment too.
Now is the time to dump all the grievances out on the table.
Yes, because the country is coming apart due to Flovid, and we better seize our moment.
But why have all the grievances that have become the ones that everybody has to pay allegiance to, how come they're all from the left? Is there a single right grievance that has become, holy and everybody has to accept it?
No, well, that's the nature of progressivism, is that we have not progressed enough, and so we have to seize our moment, because we have established that everything the world is not exactly the way that we want it. So the way to get there is to tear down all the old and fill it in with either the new or something that we don't even know.
Yeah. So let's hit a couple more of these weird things that have happened, and then let's try to get into explanation for why this happened. Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, another one is, how come we have random attacks on white people in the streets? That's been happening frequently. That's a thing. How come we have a second national anthem? Why do we need a second national anthem?
and we immediately got a new federal holiday.
Yes,
Juneteenth.
That's right.
And you cannot stop. And we must have open drug use on the streets. That's a lot of things. We stopped. George Floyd died in police custody, and therefore we have to remake all laws. And by remake, I mean stop enforcing.
Right. Yes. So suddenly you can shoplift as much as you want.
Shoplift as much as you want. You can sleep. You can set up tents anywhere you want in any city. Drug use is fine. Shoplifting is fine. Tent cities are
Everybody
fine.
has to put their adherence to these new norms on yard signs in front of their house. In this house we believe, all that kind of stuff.
Well, then politics becomes something that you must wear on your sleeve. Mm-hmm. And there's only one brand of politics that are acceptable.
That's the thing. Is only the left position is allowed to be spoken publicly.
Yes.
Anything else has to be quiet, because that's not acceptable. So that's what I want to get to, is why. Why did George Floyd plus COVID lead us to a place where only the left position on these complicated social issues become acceptable?
Flovit. I don't know.
Okay, so I have a couple. I have a couple possible explanations. So you tell me what you think of this. So it's similar to what happens to conservatives in Congress. Conservatives in Congress are scared to death of being called racists. That's the one thing that if you want to get conservatives to bow the knee to a liberal policy, all you've got to do is get the media to start calling them racist.
Hasn't the wolf boy cried wolf enough yet?
Not enough for these guys, apparently. Right. And what happens is, I think in the same way, after George Floyd, it was so easy for people to call you a racist, and that's like the new thing. You get called a racist for any possible thing. That it's easier to just say, okay, I'm not going to touch that. Because imagine, did you ever see Hunger Games? Did you ever read or see Hunger Games?
Silence is violence.
Yeah, right. Did you ever read or see Hunger Games?
Yes.
Okay.
Both, yep.
You remember those things like mockingjays or those birds that if you say something, all of a sudden all the birds would say? So it's almost like that. It's like there are certain things that if you say a conservative position, all of a sudden, all these birds, social media and everything is going to be yelling, racist, 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 all around you constantly. So why would you do it?
In the most shrill and piercing way.
Yes, and they're going to be flying around your head.
And then you have a legion of guilty white liberals who are openly admitting that they are racist.
Bowing down.
Yes. And right. So I guess there's another intersection of secularism.
Yes.
That, the godlessness of people who have now found a new religion.
Yeah.
That's probably another nexus.
Yes. So I think it's to some extent it's cowardice. To some extent it's who wants to put themselves in a position where a zillion people are calling them names. Nobody wants that. Yeah. So just lay low and hope it blows over.
Yeah, right. When they come around and they tell you, all right, guys, it's time to re-up our business cards. Yeah. And you just go, oh, whatever.
Right. Yeah,
right? Because just standing up.
I want to fight this?
Exactly. Standing up and going, this is BS.
Right.
And so that's what happens. People just get bullied or cowed into just saying, you know what? It's really just easier just to suck it up and go along and be that guy. And So you just
another possible cause. Another possible cause is isolation, because isolation does push people towards extremism, and so COVID isolated people.
Yes.
So it makes sense that people get more radicalized during isolation. And then imagine that you had a dispute. You took some position that you'd be perfectly happy to defend in an open, honest debate, right? Like you'd be happy to defend it in high school debate class, but where there are rules and you're allowed to go back and forth. But in the modern environment, as soon as you were to say it, 10,000 people are going to scream at you and yell. So that's the problem. That you can't. There are certain things that intellectually you can defend it. Sitting around sitting around with somebody at the dinner table, you'd be perfectly happy to talk about it and defend it. But once it gets into the public sphere, once it's in the office, or once it's on social media, or once it's anyplace else, all of a sudden it becomes, no, you can't possibly say that, because you're a monster if you say that.
You're a monster.
Okay, I got one other possible explanation. Something about COVID and George Floyd triggered everybody.
The word trigger.
Everyone must be on the same page. This issue is so important that there is dissent from this position is simply not allowed.
Right. You have to first agree that George Floyd was murdered, and
because thousands of black men are being killed every year by the cops.
Right. Yeah. Obviously.
Which is totally not true, but that's what people believe.
And
also because of COVID.
You had to believe the science.
Everybody's going to die. If you don't do whatever Anthony Fauci tells you, or people tell you all this crazy nonsense about everything, that if you don't do those things, then all these people are going to die. So it almost became normal to say only one position is allowed.
Yes.
And that once that becomes normalized, everybody wanted to get into that same deal. I want to be in the only this position is allowed game.
And everybody with the grievance was like, wait a minute, this is our moment.
Yes.
And
this is our time. This is when
we will define the one way you're allowed to think about our thing, like all sports teams.
Yes.
And
dissent is no longer allowed.
No.
Because we've crossed a threshold, and I think maybe the confluence of George Floyd and COVID was that crossing of the threshold where people said, sorry, we will not accept any dissent at this point. And that the reigning orthodoxy became the crybaby liberals who, said what they wanted to say.
Yeah, that's right. Let me see what else that I have here. Let me just wrap up a few more here. The Great Reset. Now we all need digital currency and elites to run the world.
And you're going to eat bugs and like it.
You're going to eat bugs like it. Then people would just start fighting on planes a lot.
Yes, where did that come from?
Yeah, well, so you add those two together, it says that the number of unruly plane passenger reports has declined since it peaked in 2021, but is still double pre-pandemic levels.
You know what I think?
How did Flovid end up with plane fights?
You know what they ought to do with planes? It's really simple, because what they really ought to do is you just got to strip naked, and then they give you a sedative. And they just stick you in a little box for the length of the flight, because then they know you don't have any guns or anything like that, and you just put it in there. You sleep the whole time. You come out.
Right. No booze, but you all get heavy doses of Xanax.
Yes, right. And you're just
Soma.
Out. You're just out for the flight.
We'll just design it.
Don't need stewardesses coming back.
You don't need to drink.
None of that kind of stuff. You're just
in
out.
A pod.
You're just cargo. You're just cargo. And they're going to fly you to this place.
Right. Oh, and fat people can spill over into your seat, and you don't have anything to say about it.
Well, they're not in the seat. They're just in a little slot.
No. I'm saying that is also on the list. That somehow fat is healthy.
Right. Yeah.
Where did that come from? And fat is sexy, and you have to believe it. And it's healthy, and your doctor has to.
Yes, somehow this madness overtook us, where these crazy ideas became. You must believe this crazy idea. Dissent is not allowed anymore.
Oh gosh!
And you're tying it all back to Floyd.
Well,
and COVID. It seems to be.
They all seem. I just don't know how 1 + 2 = 47, but it does because I lived through it, and I'm still living it.
Yeah. All right, so there you go.
All right, can I get a mailbag?
Yes, we have a few minutes for a mailbag. What do you got?
I have Doughboy 23 writes about that time that we made Trash Men our Man of the Week. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Mm-hmm. He writes, I agree we need to acknowledge our trash men, but I do have one problem: misogyny. What? I demand that we have... Oh, I see what he's saying. I demand that we have gender equality in the refuse industry, and when we do, we could call them trash persons. And then he writes in smiley face emoji. So
you couldn't put that.
I don't know if that's irony or is it he just doesn't know how smiley faces work, which I hope he doesn't.
Okay,
even be better off if he did.
Okay, so there's a couple issues there. On the one hand, he's saying that
I think there's a little bit of irony and a little bit of sarcasm going on here.
In the smiley face emoji in words. Okay, so part of the problem is when people talk about having equal representation of men and women in jobs, they only talk about lawyers, doctors, politicians.
Well-paid, cushy jobs.
Yeah, exactly. They never talk about offshore fishermen, loggers in the Pacific Northwest, trash men.
You're right. If the great genius of our age, Ibram X. Kendi, says, where I see racial disparity, I see racism, it must also follow that when I see gender disparity, I see sexism.
Sex disparity. We don't use the word gender.
Oh, we don't use gender.
We don't use gender. That's right.
So yes, you're right. 93% of trash men are men, and we need to clear that up.
Somehow that's a problem that needs to be fixed.
Yes, and here are some other things that, come on, ladies, you guys need to do better by this. We've got
brick masons, I mentioned.
Yeah, we've got electrical power line installers.
Sure.
Where are you, ladies?
Right.
Pest control workers.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
we're talking 97% here.
People who crawl under houses into nests of rats and things and pull them out. Yeah.
Roofers, we've got 97.
Right. Yeah.
Welders.
Plumbers, pipe fitters.
Pipe fitters. So the only explanation is that women are applying for these jobs and these resumes are going straight into the shredder.
Yeah. And somehow what we need to do is we need to have a program to encourage girls to want to be pest control workers and all that kind of stuff.
Right, because
but no, that's not what happens. We have all these programs to get women into STEM because that's a cushy sit on your butt, work in a air-conditioned office, make good money. But where do we see the feminists coming along and saying, we need more women roofers?
I mean, look at all this disparity here.
I know. We need more women
and I have another
I
have another equity problem here that needs to be addressed. Again, 93-7. Come on, guys. This is really not right. 93% of workplace deaths in the United States are men.
I know.
Come on, ladies, be better.
Exactly, ladies. Start doing stupid things and getting killed at work. I mean, that's what has to happen.
It is. Right. I mean, if you're going to take equity seriously, then this is how silly it would be.
Yes, it is how silly it would be. Right. So what we need to do is, in order to make it even, we need to put men in helmets and give them protective gear, and not give it to women
because
we get those statistics.
93-7 is this. It's unacceptable.
It's not. So obviously, there's some sort of structural inequality in the workplace.
Systemic. I'm sorry.
Yes. Systemic inequality in the workplace that's causing men to die more frequently than women.
Yeah.
So what we need to do,
addressed.
Yes, we have to start pushing women into more dangerous jobs without proper equipment to make sure that they die more, so we can straighten out.
So we get the numbers.
So we can get the numbers.
Because if all you're worried about is the equity and the numbers, then this is how silly it gets. Because obviously we don't want women dying, but this is where your dumb idea of the prioritizing of equity gets you.
And okay, you're right. Because we've been joking. In reality, we think men should be doing the dangerous
ladies,
jobs.
Don't worry about it. We got this.
That's what men do. Men do the hard work. Men do the dangerous things. Men do put their lives on the line to make sure you can throw your switch and have your light bulbs come on.
Right.
They go out in the snow and the ice to work on the power lines. That's what men do.
We just don't want to hear you bitching that we don't need men.
Right, exactly.
Dumb asses.
Yes. So, yes, the problem with this whole equity thing is that they only apply it in the most cushy jobs and not for everything else.
All right. Well, thank you, Doughboy23. That was very astute.
I'm still curious what the smiley face emoji. Why is that just written out? Like
what was he thinking? I think he doesn't know how to do it, or he's just
doesn't know. Probably doesn't know how to do it.
That's a plus.
That's good. That's good.
Good for you. Don't learn it.
Just go your whole life without
using any emojis.
There are certain things that I want, like on my tombstone. Never watch an episode of such and such. Never.
Yeah. Don't use emojis and don't take selfies. Thank you, Doughboy.
Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.